Welcome to the 21 Lines of Inquiry podcast that's all about helping you discover your UCW, your unique contribution to the world. Join us as we delve into the 21 questions that will help you be more intentional about bringing your gifts into your career and your life overall. So when you're ready, let's get started. Hi, it's Anita, and in this episode, the question I want to invite you to consider is, what were the talents that you naturally expressed without even having to think about it when you were younger? Often, these are also important clues to who we really are. So I remember when I used to work in Canary Wharf, I would sometimes commute in on the Docklands Light Railway, commonly called the DLR. And on one particular day, I remember I was in a bit of a rush. I'd got off the underground at Bank and I'd rushed through the winding tunnels of the Central Line, only to jump onto the DLR train as the doors were closing. So I found myself in the very front carriage, sitting on the seats right at the front of that, which face towards the direction the train is going, so you can get a great view. And the reason I remember this so specifically, even though it's many years ago, is there was a little boy, maybe 7 or 8 years old, and he was standing up at the front of the train and giving a running commentary on the journey and announcing the stops. He was pretty good at it too, a natural presenter. And I remember thinking, isn't that interesting? No one's asked him to do that. He's just there, simply expressing who he is. Now, this is the sort of thing I mean. So for myself, I remember around the age of 11 or 12, the thing that I just naturally did without anyone asking me to do it was compose songs. So mostly on the piano, but sometimes on the guitar. I would just write song after song and they would just flow out of me. I didn't even have to, I wasn't kind of asked to do it for anything. It just kind of happened. Now, this brings up another important point, because quite often the expression of these early talents can be quashed unintentionally by the response other people give. And then they often never see the light of day again. So I remember my songwriting came to an abrupt end after a couple of years we had a visiting songwriter come to the school to do an assembly, and I got very excited as I wanted to play him one of my songs, and I got very deflated when he said he didn't like it. Not those words exactly, but that was the overall sense I got from what he said. Now, I'm sure there probably was helpful criticism in there, but for me, it just felt like a blur, and the message I took is that I wasn't any good at this, and I stopped. So what about you? What was the thing that you couldn't help doing as a younger version of you? Were there any talents that were squashed before they saw too much of the light of day? Or maybe something you were good at and enjoyed as a child, which you've simply forgotten about? Maybe a musical instrument that you were good at, or a sport that you excelled at. So take a couple of minutes to reflect on this. And is there any way that you could bring this back into your life today, even for a few minutes a week? And then maybe reflect on how could this early talent relate to your career? So for me, I no longer compose songs, but I create trainings and a lot of content for the business, which I hugely enjoy. This audio series is a good example. Whereas in my earlier careers in law and banking, there was less scope for this. So creating original content in some way is part of my DNA, my UCW, and something I need to be able to express to feel fully alive in my work. So you might want to spend a bit of time reflecting on this on a walk or with a friend, or writing some notes in your journal. And then when you're ready, please join me in the next episode.